Hi everyone, and welcome to Ask Christa, the place where you can ask questions about how to work through business challenges and workplace issues. I'm Christa Dhimo, and with Season 3 focused on a lot of business questions our listeners have sent in, I've decided to create a Business Basics series, similar to what I did with Season 1's Strategy series. There will be 6 episodes in the series, and we're launching the series today with the listener or listeners question, because I hear this a lot. How do I learn about business basics? And that's really a big question. And as with all big questions, the answer is, it depends. But I'm truly going to focus on the how, as the listeners are asking, because anytime you're learning about something new, or looking to learn more about something you know, how you learn can either enhance your interest or fizzle it out really fast. And if anyone's suffered through a professor reading PowerPoint slides as a way of teaching, you know as well as I do how much the how you learn will impact your interest in a subject. Anytime you're looking to take on a new task of learning, especially one like this that could either span over several months or just a few hours, depending on how basic you want to be, the first question is less about how you learn the basics, more about what you're looking to achieve with your learning. For example, have you always been business curious and just want to know the basic structure and nuances of business? Or are you looking to start up a business and just want some baseline knowledge for perspective and leverage as you get started? Are you looking to boost your confidence within a business setting? Or are you looking longer term, wondering if you should go back to school or invest more time and energy into deeper learning, depending on what you mean about the basics? First, think about your objective. Why do you want to learn the basics? What will you use that learning for? That will inform how you learn. If it's for personal enrichment, then shorter form learnings in any media you prefer will do the trick. YouTube, Google search, LinkedIn Learning, if you have that subscription, or free online courses from universities. I also recommend watching TV series that focus on diagnosing and recovering different types of businesses, so you can learn from the mistakes others have made, usually basic mistakes made because they didn't have or hadn't learned yet the business basics before starting their businesses, and they quickly got in over their heads. And this happens in corporate also, especially when there's a mismatch with the CEO and what the business needs are. Obviously, I'm biased because I love myself a good recovery effort, and the messier and more overwhelming it is, the more interested I become. It's not because of the drama. In fact, part of why someone like me is called in is typically because we don't panic easily. We observe and listen a lot and can size up the issue, the fix, and the plan within a few days. But I'll say this, some of the best learnings you can experience about business is through studying turnaround efforts. So if you're seeking to learn about business for personal enrichment, there's a lot you can learn through turnaround recovery shows like Tabitha Takes Over. It's an oldie but goodie, and you can find it in reruns if you Google it. Another one is Bar Rescue or Undercover Boss. Undercover Boss is less about turning things around, but it's certainly about understanding if there's any recovery that needs to take place. A quick note on TV shows, please don't watch Shark Tank to become savvy about business basics. That's all I'm going to say. Back to your objective. If it's to start a longer foray into learning about business, then I'd consider making the investment to subscribe to more formal learning content and articles so you can gain a solid foundation on 2 specific items. First, how do you start up a business? Now, I recommend this because learning how to start up a business brings you through the basics in a way that pulls in various business topics only when you need to begin thinking about them. I think what tends to overwhelm business learners is the number of departments, functions, practices, processes, considerations, compliance risks, and dynamics that are involved in a business. And they're all connected. You cannot take them all in all at once. If you learn about the business through the lens of a startup, you start with the concept and design of a business, what you have to offer, why it's special and meets an unmet need, meaning why people would want to buy your product or your service, and then how it fits into the current market or where other similar products or services are, your competition, and your potential customers. This approach also gives you a comfortable pace to learn what you should care about during the different stages in a business's growth cycle. For example, during the early days, there's a lot of focus on what it takes to get funded, versus the more mature days, there's a lot of focus on keeping up with what you already offer, figuring out ways to enhance what you offer so it remains competitive, and investing in new products or services you can and should offer in order to stay ahead of competition and your customer needs. See, even saying what I just said, you could probably tell the difference in complexity, just because of the difference in scale. If you start from the startup phase, you learn the bare essentials because that's all you need to know at that phase of a business. The basics at a foundational level. You'll also have more complex concepts in view. It will give you a good span of information across the totality of a business, but the scope will be capped at the startup and small business phase, which offers a full understanding of business, but at a smaller scale. You can then decide whether and how you want to continue beyond the basics as you wish. Now, I just described what it takes to learn about the basics, but if you're going to do that, push onward to the next step. List business topics of interest you have, and then learn more about those too. Go deeper into your learning, but do that based on your interest. Get into the rabbit hole. Why not? You started your momentum. Now it's time to have some fun, and you'll learn which business topics you're most interested in as you learn the foundational items studying startups. By focusing on topics of interest, you'll not only gain momentum, but you'll begin to repeat what you were learning, thinking about how what you're learning can be applied in the real world, and then seeking out and learning more about these topics of interest. The more you can reinforce your learning across various examples, or various business cases and practices and so forth, the more learning will stay with you, and soon you'll be analyzing like a pro. The natural progression after that is you'll begin to find various solutions to business problems. So your favorite topics might include what it takes to get people to work better, or what it takes to continue getting funded. Or perhaps you're interested in intellectual property. What does it take to own the patent of the product you're selling in a business? So list down those favorites and then go deep on those. At that point, you not only understand the basics, but also how to add value to a business even with the basics. And yeah, you can do that. There are a lot of free resources you can go to learn about business. YouTube, free online courses I've posted a few times, and I'll put them in the show notes here again too. Harvard Business Review, Sloan Management Review. And as an aside, most people somehow miss the fact about business. There's actual research, a lot of it, about what works best in business and how to implement what works best. It's not like a few decades ago when the application of the research or the way in which it could be applied was a bit of a mystery. No, these days, a lot of business research is applied research, research that is conducted with a full focus on studying the real world, then applying the learnings from that study back into the real world versus into academia. And that's for the sake of implementing and successfully executing evidence-based best practices for business. So when I mention Harvard Business Review and Sloan Management Review, I do so knowing full well that a lot of those articles are based on applied research backed by evidence, and that matters. Forbes, another great outlet that often includes evidence-based research. And then, of course, whatever your favorite industry outlet is. Subscribe, read, study. I've mentioned in other episodes that there are learning platforms also. My go-to is LinkedIn Learning, but there are others too, so seek out what works best for you based on what it is you're looking to accomplish. Business is truly one of those every day is a school day topic. So make every day a learning day. For your resources, I've listed free online courses, as I mentioned, where you can search for the topics of your choice, and I listed these in episode 25 also. Take advantage of free resources that offer great formal learning at a pace that works for you. I've also listed the U.S. Small Business Administration SBA Learning Platform for you. It's easy to forget how much support is offered to those who own small businesses, and if you want to learn the basics fast, start with a startup mindset. Learn what you need to get started in business, and you'll learn what you need to get started in learning about business too. With that, I've also included a link to the Ernst & Young Entrepreneurs Resource Library. Final thoughts. In one of my previous episodes, I mentioned how critical it is to know how you learn. That was about management. And I want to reiterate that point here as I started with. Learning isn't about strict adherence to a book. In fact, a lot of times, business books become quickly outdated, or they're rooted in someone's experience and should probably be listed as a memoir versus a business book. One of the most effective ways to learn about business is to actually study businesses live, in the moment, in action, where you can see how it works and how they operate. Sure, it's helpful to have the basics down first, as I've talked about this in other episodes and in this episode. But unlike so many other topics, you can actually learn about business through a variety of media and by being in a business, or even sitting somewhere and watching how it works. Find out what works best for you, and then jump in with your learning. Business is everywhere. The corner coffee shop, the movie theater, the car dealership, the people paving a road, your pet's veterinarian, public school district. I mean, that's a government entity, so it's not purely a business per se, but they run the same or similar processes as businesses where services offered, paid for, and with any profit or surplus of funds reinvested for improvement and growth. In the public sector, it's the tax dollars that pay for it. Also worth noting, nonprofits and not-for-profits are businesses too. Despite what you might think about their name and their tax status, they need to be profitable and they care about profits. So learn the basics, and then why stop there? Once you learn the basics, you'll see how business is really just a process made up of smaller processes nested in. You guessed it, even smaller processes nested in there too. I love business. Everything about it, especially when I'm called in to truly be the doctor of business and recover its health. Okay, so there it is. I'll stop there. Episode 26 is done. I hope you enjoyed the Business Basics series. The next episode is asking about when you know you're ready for your first raise. And I don't mean raise, the one that you're talking to your boss about because of the good work you've been doing all year. This question is asking about the raise with investors. And what do you do first? Develop your product and then pitch? Or talk to investors that then help you develop the product? Oof, it's going to be a good one. To submit your question, go to my show's website, askchrista.com. That's Christa with a CH. And click on the Submit a Question button. While you're there, click the follow button and subscribe to my newsletter too. More answers, which I issue every Sunday night to set you up for the work week. As always, I thank you for your support. Remember, if you have a business challenge or workplace issue, ask Christa.